Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're here to check out a brand new series, Hellbound. Been hearing about this for quite some time. I know it's an adaptation of a manga. I think it's a Korean manga. I have not read it. I've not read it. I've just a basic understanding of what the premise is, just based on the trailer alone that I've seen. I've seen the last two trailers. And from what I gather, these beings that exist in this world, pronounce the time of your death in advance. And I'm not sure what you're intended to do with the information, but you're given a set time as to when you will be going to hell, and then it just happens. I'm not sure what the story is revolving around that, whether or not we're going to be trying to solve why or how this happens, or if it's a case where we know how it happens or why it happens, and we just accept that this is some being that just passes judgment on us all. From watching the second trailer, it did remind me quite a bit of Death Note, just in that it this being, which was Kira in Death Note, passing judgment on everyone else, and that there were some Kira worshippers, and from the last trailer it did suggest that we would be having something similar happening, where there are these believers that exist in the world that believe that judgment should be passed on these individuals, and so I'm wondering whether it's going to be a case of having these different factions, and some who want to find and stop whatever this is, and others who just don't, because maybe some of these, or maybe all of these individuals are just terrible individuals. But the difference, of course, being, Kira being one person and being a human who has no real power, it's just the book, and he has no way of knowing who's guilty and who's not. And this is something supernatural in that, these are not humans acting, but at least so far as from what I can determine. But some otherworldly beings that are aware of what these persons have done. But this falls in line. Squid Game is actually over. I don't have any foreign content replacement in mind at the moment, so it's just like, hell, might as well check it out. I'm going to be watching I think Cowboy Bebop most likely once that drops as well, so you guys can be sure to check that out, since that's it's one of my favorite anime of all time. I'm not sure what to expect from this live action, but if it doesn't work out, I can just go and watch the anime. It still holds up beautifully. Yeah, it looks a lot better than a lot of anime that come out today. So I can always just go back to that, but I'm intrigued to have other new fans be introduced to the franchise. So whatever happens, guys. So until that drops, I'm going to be checking out Hellbound. I think it's only 6 episodes. It's rather short. But again, I don't know how long the manga actually is and how much of the story this will capture, but just looking at the trailer, I'm intrigued. So episode 1 of Hellbound, let's check it out. And I take it this is a scene from the trailer with that one guy that gets caught. There they are.
야,
Until it
사람이
happens.
더 많거든. 이 사람 유튜브 채널 가면 증거 영상도 엄청 많아.
I mean, there are a lot of
너
witnesses.
같은
It's not
애들이
as though
있으니까 이런
it's
사이비들이 사기 쳐먹는 거 아니야.
just a video. I wonder what's the point of telling them in advance, whether there is some way for them to actually prevent it. Maybe do some good, leading up to the days, change your fate. What's interesting is he seems to believe it. Well, I guess he's seen the angel at the very least, so he has reason to believe. Oh, that's 3. Do you know how to make an entrance? Damn. No warning. Are they fighting to take him? Damn, you don't have to beat me to death. Just take my soul, man. And are they... They could easily kill a bunch of other people, you know, trying to get one. I want to say poor guy, but if he's going to hell, I think it's safe to assume he's done some pretty terrible stuff. Maybe, you know, depending on who's passing out this judgment. I don't think that's gonna help you, buddy. Ah, okay. I thought they were gonna flip the car over. Ouch. Ah. Ugh. Why do you have to do me like that? Just take me. I think the guy left out some important parts. You know, they don't just come and take your soul. They come beat the shit out of you and then take your soul. He left that part out. Yeah. Pretty gruesome death. They could have just done that. But again, does he deserve it? I don't know yet. And then they just leave. Okay. Through a doorway? So is there someone like Akira passing judgment with these things, or is it some higher being? Alright, so this is current day. In the future, at least. The uninterested detective. That's gonna be the one on the case, clearly.
차로 15분 거리 오피스텔에서 혼자 살고 있습니다. 남겨진 유족은 2년 전에 이혼한 부인이 있고.
Alright, so it's something that everyone is like just discovering, or it's happening at some parts. I don't know if it's around the world or just here. He just said he was gonna cover it, Chief.
진작에 집중해. 지금 언론들이랑 방송들, 인터넷 다 이 사건 얘기만 하고 있어. 모두 정신 차리고 수사해야 돼.
To bring it to him, he says.
쓸데없는 소문이 더 나지 않게 기자들한테 입 조심하고. 야 그리고 진경문. 네. 너랑 은표는 그 쇠질리는지 뭔지부터 자세히 털어봐. 거기 광신도 소용이 됐든 뭐가 됐든 관련이 있어.
Or maybe you should mess with them, especially if they become cults.
신도수를 공개하고 있지 않으나 비공식적으로 화살촉이 이 단체의 열성적인 신도들로 구성됐다는 의혹도 있다.
What's the arrowhead?
인터넷에 전과자 실험 뿌리게 다니고 미친놈들.
I don't know about divine retribution. I mean, doesn't that normally happen after you've died and, you know, passed away, moved on from this earth? These guys are coming here to kill you. Because divine retribution, I mean, I just don't think you need someone to put the criminals' names online, you know. That's whatever divine being is doing this should be able to discern who's guilty and who's not. They don't need human help. Unless it's just a way to deter people, I guess, from, you know, doing bad stuff.
발자국들도 없고 온갖 핏자국들만.
뭐 새질린가 뭔가 집회한다더만.
Oh, okay.
그게
So they're in here.
많이 그런 거라 엄청 씨부리더만.
That's interesting. I mean, I'm wondering whether they're a part of it or they're contributing to it somehow, or did they just spring up after the event started to actually happen?
다수의 폭행 사기 전과를 가진 사람이었습니다.
6년 전 니카라과 아동약취 살해.
All right, so he's making the case that these are bad people. So it's been going on for a while.
마약 제조, 강절도, 사기.
I don't know if robbery and theft is cause for death. This is Kira all over again.
인간이 가치의 기준이라는 사람들은 모두 이렇게 말합니다.
Alright, it's gonna make for an interesting discussion. And much like Kira, his view on the rest of the world is very childlike in thinking that everything is just that black and white.
지옥의 모습을 보여주고 계십니다. 너희는 더 정의로워야 한다.
No such thing, buddy. No one is inherently good or bad and all capable of both.
저쪽에서 있었던 살인사건 수사 중인데요.
살인 사건이요.
네.
Doesn't see it as murder. Your divine intervention, man.
있었던 시험 말씀하시는군요.
Is he gonna smite them too? Uh-oh. Someone he knows?
형님.
Oh, his daughter.
시간 아니야? 너 여기서 지금 뭐 하는데 지금?
희정아. 야, 너 오랜만이다. 키 많이 컸네.
안녕하세요.
He's being
바로 지금
indoctrinated.
가. 어? 딴 데로 새지 말고.
아, 알았다고.
Oh God, it's too late. Come on, Dad. Yeah, just follow the case and learn as much as you can. It's the best way you can help her.
저 웬만하면 그냥 이렇게 대중교통 이용합니다.
The members wanted him to have these things, and
무슨 신흥 사이비 종교 교주 이런 거 상상.
yeah, you are sounding very much like one, buddy.
아이고, 장님. 아이고, 여기 앉으세요.
아니요, 괜찮습니다. 앉으세요.
아이고,
Yeah, this has all the makings of a cult leader. And I'm guessing this is why he prefers to take public transportation. How would all his adoring fans be able to see him any other way if he's driving?
20살인데.
20살이 되면 보육원에서 돈이 나오고 독립을 할 수 있게 되거든요. 그래서 티베트의 초원으로 갔죠. 거기는 독수리가 시신을 수습해 주고.
Oh. They're killing animals? Or was it a person? That's have been a person, right? Although I would not be surprised if they're passing judgment on on that. Yeah, it's a person. It's like, how dare you, vulture? How dare you scavenge this meat?
그리고 미친 듯이 신의 흔적을 찾아 돌아다녔죠. 10년을 그러고 보니 어렴풋이 신의 의도가 보이더군요.
Your doctrine is radical.
느껴 죽을까봐 선하게 산다. 그걸 정의라고 할 수 있나요?
공포가 아니면 뭐가 인간을 참여하게 할까요?
What you're describing sounds nothing different from authoritarianism, you know?
인간의 자율성을 믿지 않는가 보네.
판사님 참 재밌는 이야기를 하시네요.
He's saying humans should be inherently good, but he wants to force them to be good.
희정 씨 얘기 들었어요.
That doesn't eliminate, sinful thought. Oh God, why are you bringing up my wife? Stay calm.
법의 처벌을 받고 사회에 복귀해서 잘 살고 있지 않나요? 사람의 자율성이 만든 법 체계가 정말 정의롭다고
Still not that easy, man. It doesn't matter. One, killing the guy will not bring his wife back. So there's that little thing. And secondly, you can't just apply a broad stroke for every single individual that you deem guilty. But again, this divine God, I'm not sure whether it's being summoned by him or someone associated with the group, or if it's some divine being. So it all depends on that. Because not everyone that the law said is guilty is actually guilty, you know? They mentioned a long list of people that have died, and one of them was a thief. And I don't know that stealing, you know, should be, the penalty for stealing should be death. So that just seems rather odd. That seemed rather odd. Maybe they just didn't want him to see how she was, but... "10 years. Why did he kill her though? Uh-oh. I hope he didn't try anything. Or he was going to and the chief caught him. Yeah, he's still got a daughter. Yeah, he's right. Why did he just get 10 years though? I want to understand that case a bit. Then it was released after 6 years. So because he was under the influence, he got a lighter sentence? Alright, so we've seen the beings from hell, but we haven't seen the angels visit just yet.
문율이 아직도 앉아?
짠! 생일 축하합니다.
Okay. She doesn't look frightened or saddened, so clearly she hasn't received that message yet.
고마워.
Otherwise, she'd be a bit more terrified.
문율이도 고마워.
Oh, okay. I guess this is the angel. Okay. Interesting. What did she do, I wonder? I was expecting the angel to look a bit different, you know? Like, in a way that the ones from hell look. Different, but more human-like, I guess. It doesn't have to be. So, that was interesting. Who is this? Yeah. So, this is the Arrowhead group.
이 공권력에 대한 불신이 팽배한 사회일수록 사적인 복수 같은 것이 힘을 얻게.
Unfortunately, with the internet, that's easier said than done. This guy is a prime example of that.
의도를 전하고 있는데 넌 임마 조만간 100% 지옥행이야.
But interestingly, they did mention that members of the Arrowhead are tied to crime as well. So, how are they skirting judgment?
족들이 있는 겁니다. 자자자자자자 이제 우리 화살표에 활약 쏘아볼까요? 아, 그래.
Oh God. So they've already started to take it on themselves to pass judgment on people. So how is God not passing judgment on them? You know, so that's my biggest issue here. They mentioned someone who got killed for bribery and being a thief. But these guys are beating the shit and I'm assuming maybe kill this guy. I don't know if they've killed him yet, so we'll see. But that seems far worse. Kidnapping, yeah. And I'm guessing a lot of people tuned in live to watch it.
그저 소설가 양반아, 그 상태 괜찮아?
저 직접 진술하겠다고 변호사랑 같이 와 있습니다. 누워 있을
Okay.
생각 아닌가 봐요.
He's still alive at least. Yeah, isn't he? No, I don't know what the laws there are in terms of him just broadcasting
야이
that.
새끼들아, 여기가 니들 놀이터야? 어? 근데 이 새끼들이
아 원필아, 애들이잖아.
Just kids, aren't they guilty of assault? What the hell difference does that make?
정상 참작이라도 받으려면 니네끼리
They don't seem to care about their punishment.
빨리.
So how are you?
새진리회 신의 의도는 한 번이라도 읽어봤어요?
You're not answering his question.
이번 사건 10대들의 우발적인 범행이라고 생각하지 않았으면 좋겠습니다. 앞으로 일어날 일에 대해서는 저희도 감당이 안 됩니다.
저희도 뭐 이전 화살.
Why did he give her a look earlier when he saw her for the first time? I thought that they knew each other, but then they introduced themselves, so apparently not.
성날. 다 왔어. 계단이야, 계단. 뭐가 그렇게 급해?
Okay. So we're following her.
응?
Either she has some ties to New Truth or the Arrowhead. Oh, okay.
오셨어요?
The lady that got a visit from the angel.
김민희입니다. 저 찾으셨다고.
I mean, if she did something wrong, you'd think she wouldn't be here.
지옥에 가게 돼서 제가 지옥에 가게 됐어.
Oh, she recorded it? Oh, right, the kid was holding the phone up.
새진리 분들이 제가 고지를 받은 거라고.
새진리예요.
저희 애가 이런 거는 거기가 제일 잘할 것 같다 그래서.
Ugh. This guy's face pisses me off.
그래서 뭐라든가요, 거기는?
방송을 하고 싶대. 그 희연이가 하는 거를.
네?
You're just gonna make things worse. Why would you even agree to that? I hope she didn't agree to that. Alright, there we have it, everyone. Episode 1 of Hellbound. Yeah, this is definitely going to be an interesting one. If only for the, delicate but very intriguing discussion of, passing judgment. Similar to what happened in Death Note. And, when Death Note came out, there was a lot of that discussion. And many people still feel the same way now. I see a lot of reactions where people are just now discovering Death Note. So far this year, and some of that discussion is still happening. And one of the things that I think describes it quite well, and it's threaded in the anime as well, where L calls Light a child, or he starts describing him as some omnipotent god at first, but then he says, no, this is clearly just the act of a child. And in some of the discussions that I've seen and had with persons on that subject, it's somewhere within that same vein. It's like, okay, when you're a child and you're watching Death Note, or even if you're a child watching Hellbound now, your perception, of course, is going to be like, oh yeah, hey, these people are doing bad things, so they should be punished. They should be killed and sent to hell. So when you're a child, your view on the world is very black and white, and you only see these things because it's easy to do that as a child because you don't have to worry about any of the worldly concerns. You're being taken care of. Everything is handed to you essentially. But it's when you go out into the world and you see the choices that are that people have to make, and sometimes often the choices that you yourself have to make as well. You realize that there are gray areas there, and again, that's not to say that some of these folks aren't bad people in that they're doing a lot of bad things, but who's to say whether what they've done demands death? And that's my big thing in watching this entire episode. We saw where the member of the leader of the New Truth, the director, I forget his name, but he was listing along a few incidents that happened with persons being killed the same way. And one of them that he mentioned, he said the guy was guilty of bribery and being a thief, and he was charged to death and sent to hell for that. I somehow put bribery and thievery below kidnapping and assault. So these kids doing this now, how are they being spared? So initially I was wondering, is this some act by some omnipotent being, or is this something that someone is acting on information that's given to them, or some investigator, or someone is specifically targeting these individuals? Because if it is a case where this judgment is being passed by some being that can see all and knows all, then one, they don't need the arrowhead to kidnap someone to say this guy is guilty. They can already determine that themselves. So that raises a question. And then the people who are doing the kidnapping and the assault, would they not in fact be guilty and should be punished by death themselves? So there's that question. If this is divine punishment, then you're picking and choosing who gets to be punished, and that's my takeaway from this. It seems to be very selective, and I don't think God would be very selective. And to be clear, I'm agnostic, so I'm not particularly a believer in God or any religion for that matter, But I don't discredit or dismiss people who do believe in that. If they do, that's their right, and I fully believe that they do accept it. I think human nature. I think we have an inherent need to believe in something greater than ourselves. That as far as religion goes, that's my assessment. I think we need, we crave some belief to keep us going. Something we need that. And so it's always a very interesting discussion whenever we have that subject brought up, and hearing different perspectives about it. So I'm curious to hear other people's thoughts on the matter. So yeah, as we go through this season, it's going to be very, very interesting. But as far as the characters go, the detective, I'll learn the names as we go along. I haven't quite gotten them just yet, but the detective whose wife passed away, yeah, he's going through it. I'll have to go back to check how much time has passed. Not to say that it's something that you ever get over, but his daughter still seems to be very much upset about it, and I do wonder whether it's because she expects him or thinks he should have done more in terms of punishing the guy who did it. And he very nearly did it, but it's a good thing that his boss, was there to stop him, because he would have ruined his life, he would have ruined her life, and you'd think she would get that, but again, she's a teenager, so maybe she doesn't. But he seems to be a good dad. Fortunately, I think his daughter's gonna go down the rabbit hole, and it's very. I'm not sure how long ago this manga was written. And again, I keep going back to Death Note because there are so many similarities. There was a discussion, I think, that happened in episode 2 of Death Note, where Light and Ryuk were having a discussion about people's views on society and all these terrible things that happen, what they say in public versus what they say in private online, and how anonymity brings out their true feelings about all these things. And you see something similar happening here, where okay, this is set. I think this is set in 2022 actually, so it's in the future, which is interesting. But it shines a light on what's happening now with social media and how quickly things like that can spread, and whether it's true or not. And we even had a journalist there, and the detective saying to him, isn't it the job of the journalist to dismiss misinformation, and the journalists, much like they are today, are more interested in ratings and getting this, and just performative, performance over actual facts and substance. It's just bizarre, and that's not to say that's the case in every single country. I think it's by a large margin, it's a lot like that in quite a few developed countries. But if you go to certain places, the news is just the news. And then when you go to or you go to the UK or the US, or it's one of those developed countries, you realize that okay, this is not news. You're giving me opinions, but I'm here to hear about things that are factual. But there are some countries where when you go there, you just have an individual around a desk. They read the events that have happened throughout the day that are newsworthy, based on police investigation, journalism, and all that. They just read that. There's no wit and humor and anything to it's not entertainment. It's not supposed to be entertainment. It's supposed to be news. So it's just bizarre to sometimes you watch that, and then when you go back to the US and you see what their version of news actually is, it's frightening. Sometimes it's frightening, because people are digesting this, and they will see the opinion as somehow truth when it's really not. News should be news. But anyhow, we got a lot of those similarities with what we got in Death Note, and you see some of it here. Of course, this goes a bit further where Death Note didn't, as far as going into the fanaticism and seeing what those people actually think. You only got glimpses of that in Death Note, but they fully embrace it here in Hellbound, with the new truth, and this director of the new truth who believes himself. I'm not sure. Initially I was thinking that perhaps he has something to do with it, but I think he's apart from it now. I think he's just sort of spreading whatever it is, the like wildfire as gospel, and forming this religion. But he's clearly getting some benefit from it. People recognize him everywhere he goes, offering to buy him stuff, and most likely, even though he says, yeah, I'm gonna take the train because I want to travel with the people. It's a cult, buddy. You're in a cult. You're a cult leader. So and we see a lot of that springing up even now. So there are going to be a lot of similarities to what we see happening in society today, because it's so much easier to amass a loyal fan base because of social networks. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting discussion. But that was pretty good. The angels, the beings from hell, they all look pretty interesting and terrifying. Both, actually. I thought the angel would be a bit more easier to look at. I don't know. It looked just as frightening. Yeah, but that was a fun episode. So I can't wait to see more. All right, guys, be sure to post down below. Let me know your thoughts are on the first episode of Hellbound. Remember to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.